Hi, I'm Jason from Laughing Crow School of Non-Elastic Shoemaking here in Portland, Oregon. Today we're going to make a very simple thong sandal, just one single piece of leather for the sole, and then an 1/8 inch Latigo lace coming up through the big toe, wrapping around the heels and ankles in kind of a clever way. It's just a simple slip-on shoe. It does what a shoe needs to do. The first and most important thing a shoe needs to do is protect your feet from the ground, from hot, cold, sharp, wet things on the ground, and it does just that, and not much else. It really doesn't need to do much else. They're super lightweight. It's kind of like being barefoot in the summertime. You just slip them on and go. I kind of forget that I'm wearing them. We're going to use a very few simple tools, hand tools, and some pretty simple and easy to find materials to make these. All in all, it should only take an hour or two maybe to make these, from start to finish. So they're a quick, easy, simple shoe and long lasting. And this pair that I'm holding here is 4 or 5 years old, and the only thing I ever have to do is maybe retie this knot every now and again. So really long lasting too. There's not much to them. What we're going to use today to make these, this pair I'm going to make out of this stuff here. It's a vegetable tan saddle skirting belly. It's a scrap cut. I get all this stuff from Oregon Leather here in Portland. We're pretty lucky we have Oregon Leather, but we also have a couple of Tandy leathers too. And most of this stuff is accessible from Tandy and other regional leather shops all over the country. You shouldn't have a hard time finding this stuff. If not, give me an email or something and I can kind of point you in the right direction. Other things that will work are English bridle leather is really quite nice too. Latigo, heavy. For any of these, you want to look for anywhere from 10, 11, 12 ounces up to maybe 14 ounces. An ounce is just the measure of thickness, how thick this stuff is. I think this is maybe 13 or 14 ounces. But like I said, we're going to use the veg tan stuff. It's a little bit stiffer. That's what these are made out of, the ones I have on the table. It's just a little more durable, a little stiffer. These are a little more flexible. For the lace, maybe 5 or 6 foot strip of 1/8 inch Latigo lace. Also, I got this Oregon Leather, but I'm pretty sure Tandy has something like this too. You can buy it in, you need at least 5 feet, but 6 feet it will do. Or you can buy a spool of it like this if you're going to make several with friends or that sort of thing. But 1/8 inch leather lace Latigo, I think is probably best. And either a Latigo or bridle leather or veg tan sole. Very few simple hand tools. We need a nice pair of scissors, a ballpoint pen or two, an 1/8 inch leather punch. You can use the hand punch, or I like the single punches and a hammer. Rubber mallets work just fine too. And then a cutting board. An old poly cutting board is great for punching into a block of wood, just something you can punch the holes with, and a stabbing awl, just a simple stabbing awl. Or even, you can press really hard with a ballpoint pen and achieve the same results. So let's get someone to step up and we'll trace around their foot and start the patterning process. All right, so once the person we're making the sandals for is comfortable and casual, or the weight equally distributed on both feet, we're going to trace around with a ballpoint pen. It's working around at 90 degrees. Tracing around toes, all the way around the foot. When you get back here towards the ankle, you can kind of raise your fingers up on the pen, hold the pen up a little more towards the top so that you get your fingers out of the way of the ankles. And then right here, from the back of the heel to the ball of the foot, we're going to take the pen and start at 90 degrees, taper into 45 degrees at the deepest part of the arch, and then back up to 90 degrees by the ball of the foot. So again, 90 to 45, back to 90. Two other points that we're going to get are right here between the big toe and the second toe. And instead of straight down 90 degrees, I want to angle the pen ever so slightly back and ever so slightly toward the second toe. So right there, make a mark. And also here, just in front of the ankle, take your pen, put it just in front of the ankle, make a little mark on the inside of the foot, and then here to the outside of the foot, same thing, find the ankle, just in front of the ankle, make a little mark. And then you can step off. Okay, so now we're going to clean our lines up a little bit, smooth up around the toes, transfer our marks in just a little bit, work on the arch, give it a little nicer shape in the arch, and then cut this piece out so that we can compare to see if her left foot and right foot are similar enough to just use one pattern, or if we need to make two. Here we go. Okay, so we're going to start off by just kind of smoothing around the toe here, and I grabbed a different color pen just so you guys can really see what I'm doing here. So I'm just kind of smoothing up the shape around the toes, working my way around the foot. Nothing too special. You don't have to be super accurate to stay right on the line or anything. Here in the arch, I'm gonna draw a line across the two furthest apart lines, the 45-degree line and the 90-degree line. I'm gonna give myself a mark at roughly halfway in that space right there, and then I'm gonna join this line that comes around the heel to that, bring it back up to the ball of the foot, and then trace around to here. I'm gonna highlight the big toe, the mark between the big toe and the second toe. Notice it's in and back slightly from where the corner of the big toe is there. I'm also going to make sure that my ankle marks make it in, because we're going to cut this out on the red line in just a moment. Okay, let's cut it out. Now we're going to cut it out. Just follow it around. If anything, you know, air to the outside of the line just a little bit. You can always trim it up later if you end up looking a little too big to you, but it's hard to put it back on once you cut it off. So we're going to go to the inside of the line there, that red line that we made in the arch, back around the heel, and there it is. Now let's flip it over and have her stand on here and see if her other foot is similar or dissimilar from this one. Okay, we've got our right foot cut out. Now let's flip it over and have her stand on it with her left foot and just check and see how similar or dissimilar it is. It actually looks pretty good. And if you're in doubt, you can always take the pen and sort of hold it back on and see. And I think we could come forward just a little bit. I can already tell that her feet are similarly shaped enough that it's not going to be an issue. Yeah, I think this is great. We're just going to use one pattern, flip it over for both. Now what we're sort of looking for in difference, you know, if you stand on this and your feet are radically different, you know, I'm going to take her toe and pull it over just a little bit. You know, if one toe kind of sticks out like that and the other toe is splayed out like this, and it's a, you know, a much wider foot or much bigger foot, or if her heel's hanging way over the back, you know, if one foot kind of angles over this way. A lot of us don't have symmetrical feet. Here, her feet are pretty much the same, so we're just going to use the one pattern for both. If the foot was radically different in shape or size, if one was much bigger, much smaller, we just repeat the initial steps of tracing around the foot and cutting out the second one to make our pattern. But here we're just going to use one pattern, flip it over for right and left. All right, so we have our tracing of the foot. We compared to make sure that her right foot was similar enough to her left foot, or maybe you have 2 feet, that's just fine. Now we're going to come to making the pattern, and I like to use cardstock, you know, like this, like poster paper, railroad board it's often called. We're going to take this foot tracing, lay it on, trace around. Make sure that we get our marks from our ankles in there. And I like to take a stabbing awl. Our mark between our big toe and the second toe, remember we kind of angled it back and slightly just toward the second toe. Just stab down there so that it makes a mark in the paper. You could also just push really hard with a ballpoint pen and probably achieve the same result. So we have that pretty well marked. Here at the ankles, we're going to create these little tabs, and I'll show you on one of the sandals. You can see the little tabs here where the lace runs through. We're going to make those, and I like to use a dime. It's kind of just the right shape. Lay that on there, kind of center it up on your mark so that the line is dividing the dime. Trace around it. Same thing here. Like that. And then I like to round these corners up a little bit too. And then in a moment we're going to use an 1/8 inch punch, hole punch, kind of about that same size. And we want to put that, kind of butt it right up against the line like that, so that there's sort of an equal amount, you know, 1/4 inch or 3/8 of an inch of leather around here. Same thing here. You can even take your punch and kind of mark it, or even just punch it. But generally I like to draw things on first. And that's pretty much it. We're not going to add anything else anywhere around. If you like, sometimes you can make the toe a little wider if you want and always trim it down later. But I find just the general footprint, the pen at 90 degrees around the foot is just a little bit wider than the foot itself, you know, because you have half the thickness of the pen growing it, you know, so we've grown the foot just a little bit. But this is a very simple pattern. These are all the marks that we need. The tabs at the heel and ankle, the punch here. Now I'm going to grab a cutting board, poly punching board, or a block of wood works just fine too. And with a hammer, I'm going to punch out the toe mark. Let's punch it again. Here. And then we're going to cut it out with a pair of scissors. You cut either right on the line, just inside of the line, just outside of the line to make it a little bit bigger. I generally cut just inside of the line. There we are. There's our pattern. Not much to it. Let's lay it out on the leather now. There's a few scars. Not too bad. It's a little thinner over here, a little softer, a little heavier, more consistent right here. I think I'm going to use this spot here. I don't think there's really any right or wrong way to lay this out orientation wise. There really isn't much. We're not worried about stretch really in this, so just however it fits the most economically, probably. Trace around. Mark your marks. Be sure to flip it over. You don't want to make 2 left feet or 2 right feet. You want a right and a left. Just like that. Now let's cut it out. So I've got, these are pretty nice leather shears. I think these came from Tandy Leather. Tighten that screw a little bit to get them tighter. They should work just fine, but sometimes a knife can work. If you have a mechanical cutter, a 5-in-1 cutter, if you have, this stuff's pretty tough, and we're gonna get through it with the scissors, but you might be challenged at home to do this with your scissors. If you have access to a bandsaw, those work quite nicely for cutting this kind of stuff out. Or you could just toil away with a box cutter, but I'm gonna use leather shears to do it. Oh yeah, that's pretty tough stuff. I had to choose the heaviest stuff, huh? Let's see. Sometimes if you're cutting really heavy stuff, here's something that can help. Rather than just using, you know, your arm muscles to do this, you can take this part of the shears, set them down on the table, and then you can kind of push against it. You have a little more leverage that way, and it's not as hard on your fingers. You also want to try and maintain a nice square edge also, 90-degree cut, so that you don't want the cut to be beveled in or beveled out. If you can keep the scissors or shears square, perpendicular to the material as you work around, that can be nice. There's one of them. Well, that was tough. All right, let's do the other one. Sometimes see how I'm bending this up? Put a little tension right on the cut too. That can help you get through heavy stuff. It also helps you maintain a nice square cut too. Get the material up and out of the way. Coming around these corners can be tough. We can come back and clean this up from the other edge, from the other angle in a little bit. There we go. Whew, that was tough. Let's see if we can get this cleaned up. There we go. So that cut looks kind of rough. Here's a little tool that you can use to clean it up. It's a little edge beveler. Certainly not necessary, but it's going to make it look a whole lot nicer. So you can see it looks kind of rough after that cut. This little tool, we kind of put it right on the corner and we bevel the edge all the way around, so it'll look like this. So yeah, immediately kind of cleans that edge up. You can also come at from different angles. Bring it around this way. Sometimes a belt sander can be nice too to clean up a rough cut on the edge. You can flip it over, do it on both sides. Take that little corner off right there. Make that a little nicer looking. I probably wouldn't be using scissors if I was just doing this on my own. I would probably use a 5-in-1 cutter or a lip knife. But I figure most of you aren't going to have access to one of those. So I do it the hard way with you. Use the scissors. Kind of using the thumb on my left hand to sort of steady and guide the tool as I go around. Now the other side. Most of this I've been doing sort of in this direction, this forward direction, but another nice way to do this is hold the tool in your hand like this and get your entire forearm down on the table. And that way it gives you a lot of stability. You can kind of move the material around as you go. Gives you a nice even angle to your bevel all the way around. Fewer starts and stops. It's a little rough still, but not too bad. All right. Now we're going to punch some holes here and here, then we're going to lace these things up. Probably going to take a couple of whacks. One nice thing to do when you're punching holes like this, especially with this sort of punch, is find the leg of the table that you're punching on and punch directly down on it. I don't know if we probably filmed here in the middle of the table and slowed this way down, we might actually see the table bouncing a little bit or flexing. A nice heavy hammer, if you don't have something like this, a lot of you have seen these sorts of rubber mallets. That works fine too, but I'm going to use this heavy mallet. It's a 2-pound maul. I'll clear some of the stuff out of here first. Then we're going to punch these holes. Probably one more time. There we go, not too bad. Here, refocus that. Come on. This one, like you can see on this one, my cut got a little screwy here, and when I cleaned it up, you know, it kind of made this tab a little bit smaller. It's totally fine. I'm just going to move the hole over a little bit. It's nice to see that everything doesn't come out perfect every time. There we go, there's one. Punch the rest of these. Now we get out our lace and we lace them up. Okay, let's lace them up. There are a number of ways to lace these things up. I'm just going to show you one. If you want to play around, with the lacing style, feel free to. If you just look it up on the internet, you'll find tons of lacing styles for these. But for here, we've got a 6-foot Latigo lace. It's an 1/8 inch Latigo lace, 6 feet long. And we're going to start by taking the one end, run it through, from the top down. So this is the side your foot's going to go against. The rough side is going to be against the street. So we'll run one through, tie a simple overhand half hitch knot, tie it tight like that, pull it down, tighten it up a little bit from this way. And you can already see just pulling it down, see how it sort of sinks into the leather like that. It seems really counterintuitive to put a knot under the foot, but as you can see here, it just kind of, the tension that happens pulls it up, and the knot just kind of creates its own little place here so it doesn't get abraded too much. So we'll pull that and we'll trim that off later. Pull that through, pull it tight, and then we're going to go to the outside of the foot, the lateral side of the foot, this tab back here, come up through the bottom like that. So let's see. And then come forward of your lace. So you kind of go up through the bottom and then come forward. So now it's in front of, and it creates sort of a little loop like that in the back. Then come around to this side, do the same thing. Come up through. Maybe, if I can get up in there. There we go. Pull that through so that it goes behind this thing. Pull it like that, because the next thing this is going to do is come forward, and you want these both to have these sort of wrap over effect like this on the tabs. I'll do that one. I'll do it again. All right, let's bring in a foot and put these on them. All right, so we have the sandal laced up. We're gonna have her step in, get that between your toe, big toe and second toe. Bring this strap around the heel, and we want to adjust it so that this isn't too tight, but not too loose also, so we can get one finger under, and one finger sort of comfortably. It's not a super tight one finger. And then back here in the heel too, you want to be able to get one finger under there somewhat comfortably. That's pretty good right there. It's not super tight. Okay, and then we're going to take this tail, and we're going to run it under this strap. Let's get that over here. Back around to here. And we're going to come, let's do this under through this whole thing here. And then over, let's do this also. Come on, under and through that strap. And then we bring this around to here and run the tail up through there. Up and over, and let's come through here. Wrap that around. And then here on the front of the foot, let's turn your foot a little bit toward that way. We're going to come over this one and under this one, like this. And then we're going to take this and travel over the toe strap, and then under and through. Bring that around, snug it back up. Take this, drive it back through here. Snug that up, and then take the tail and just tuck it back through here as a keeper. And then we'll trim the tail right here. Then we'll lace the other one up. All right, so there's our simple sandal. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out the links below for our full-length instructional on the Scandinavian turn shoe. Thank you very much.